The Shamrock Dawn program had so far proven to be a relative success. The original fatalities aboard the crew shuttles were beginning to be passed off by the PR team at CASA as teething problems associated with untested technologies. The public was also once again becoming inspired by the program, with a poll being given out in order to decide upon the name for the almost complete mothership floating above their heads. As a result, the ship was named the Conspiracy Aurora. The crew remained aboard the ship in order to wait for the launch window for Jool to open up, to aid with both the final berthing of orbiters from the R&D department that would be hitching a ride to Jool on the spacecraft, and to get accustomed to a habitat they would be spending the next few years inside. The orbiter berthing and Jool departure would happen just days apart, in order to give the science teams on the ground the most amount of time to perfect their machines. As the launch day arrived, you could not help but notice an unusual hint of optimism at CASA, that this would not be yet another failure, but indeed its finest hour. The time for waiting is finally over. Guys, in this episode of Shamrock Dawn, we are finally leaving for the Joolian system. I know it has seemed like such a long time since we started building this craft, and that's because I've kind of been doing this series sort of intermittently. But this is the episode where we're actually going to set off on our grand voyage. Here you can see the final launch of the ship assembly. Of course, the ship has now since been named by you lovely guys in the comment section down below as the Conspiracy Aurora. Thanks to everyone who suggested a name, because all of the names were pretty damn awesome. I just thought that those two names together did fit the ship the best, shall we say. I will probably name the lander one of the other names that was suggested when the time comes. But until then, we are just going to have to stick with the name we've got for now, which I think is pretty cool. You can see here, these are the final two modules that are going to be berthed to the ship. These are the two satellites. We've got one orbiter, which is going to be going around the Joolian system, similar to how Cassini goes around Saturn, getting gravity assists off different moons and pinging itself around. It's going to be there long term, even after this mission hopefully returns from Jool. The other one, I believe, is some form of Jool impactor. So what we'll do is we'll go close to Jool's atmosphere, we'll release this probe, it will burn its engine so it gets a good deep dip into the atmosphere, and it will burn up and hopefully, well, it will try and slow down, hopefully, to try and get some details with regards to the layers of Jool's atmosphere and stuff. And you can see here I have heavily cut up this video quite a lot, because there is a lot of boring rendezvous stuff that you've seen a million different times before. There's a load of long 10-minute plus burns on the initial departure for Jool, but you can see here we have actually managed to rendezvous with the Conspiracy Aurora here with these two probes, and now it's time to dock them to what is the artificial gravity area. Now, I want to make something clear here. I am using the Habitat Pack by Porkjet as one of the mods. It's the only parts mod I think I'm using for this whole thing. You can see here what I have as the artificial gravity ring is not the actual gravity ring that they have in the mod pack. Instead, it's sort of the circular donut-shaped base part. And I should stress that this part in the center that I'm trying to dock to is designed for bases and base construction. As a result, the docking ports are somewhat... they're interesting to dock with, I think is probably the main premise of that here. You can see here, we spent a good 5 minutes maybe trying to dock to this thing. The magnetic pull on these docking ports is almost zero. You have to be pretty much within touching distance for it even to take effect. But even then, it struggles to actually dock, and you'll see a couple of times here, you'll see that I will have trouble assembling this thing. I'm trying to line myself up best I can here, but it just doesn't work out. You can see me just trying to align myself, and you can see we're running out of the light as well, because obviously with this mod pack that I'm using with regards to visuals and everything, it's just the dark side of Kerbin really is dark. Like, aside from the city lights and everything, you can't see a thing, and that's another reason why a lot of this video is heavily cut out, because a lot of the stuff you literally just can't see. But you can see here just how much of a hard time we are actually having trying to get this this initial orbiter, which will also need a name, and as well as the impactor as well. We're going to need a name for them and everything, but you can see just how much of a hard time we're having. I'm trying to back away and slam myself in at a higher speed, hoping that would work. You can see here we're almost caught in the magnetic pull as well. But eventually we managed to pull away, and we're going to try and impact again, but once again it just doesn't work. So initially I think I end up deciding to undock this probe and see if it will work. But I think I was raging at this point, frankly, because I bought this orbiter all this way and I wouldn't be able to take these very important contracts that we've been paid a lot of money to actually do. But you can see here we undocked it from the service module there, and it docked no problem. So that was the first module attached. I then did a quick trip to the tracking station in order to get rid of that fairing from the docking port, and then translated myself over to the other side of the ship to keep the weight nice and balanced in order to try and dock the second one. I believe this is the Jool impactor, this probe that I'm docking here. No, wait, this is the orbiter. Yes, this is the orbiter I'm docking at the moment. I just docked the Jool impactor. Again, we had a similar problem, but thankfully, because of the problem that we had on the other side, we were able to fix this relatively quickly, although this did take a bit more jostling around, and it did end up on the dark side as well. I did cut out a lot of this as well, because this is very, very difficult to actually end up docking this thing together, because look at this thing. But we got it docked eventually, and the Conspiracy Aurora is finally ready. So basically, it was a matter of turning this thing now to face prograde, ready to leave for Jool. Now you can see this is obviously at 4 times normal speed, but this thing turns so slowly, even with the automatic stability guidance thing. But it was actually surprisingly stable. I was kind of expecting this thing to sort of flop around, kind of, well, like all of my past interplanetary ships have when doing large maneuvers like this. But it seemed to keep the flopping around to an absolute minimum. Obviously, there was a bit of jostling on the structural weak point where the lander is attached. But aside from that, it seemed to be okay. But you can see here we've now waited for the Jool departure window to actually come. We're now going to start planning our maneuver. Using 4 nuclear engines, however, we're not going to break Kerbin's gravity in one pass. Instead, we're going to have to make use of the now infamous O-berth effect. In case you don't know what the O-berth effect is, it means that the deeper within a planetary body's gravity well you are, the lower of an orbit, essentially, the faster you're going to be travelling. Meaning, basically, you're travelling faster at periaps than you are at apoaps. Which means if you thrust at periaps, should I say, you get more bang for your buck in terms of your thrust, meaning you'll need less overall fuel to actually get to your destination. This was it's very impatient. It's not for the impatient, which is kind of counterintuitive for me, because you know me playing this game, I am possibly the most impatient person known to mankind. But I decided to give it a try because I really want to get this mission to work, guys. I want to be able to return this mission home safely. But the fuel levels by the end of this they're decent, but I don't think it's enough to get home. But thankfully, I do have contingencies and everything planned, because I really want this mission to actually work out. You can see here the crew are very, very excited to actually start going here as we start going over to the night side to begin our burn. Oddly though, we have 3 seniors called Jeb, Bill and Bob, and Valentina as well. I was pretty sure that Jeb, Bill and Bob actually died on the first one, on the first mission, on the shuttles, if you remember, in the first episode of this. Maybe these are their twins, or maybe a relative of some kind, to perhaps replace them. It could be a conspiracy theory by the government. We just don't know. We may have to explore that in future storylines. But until then, these guys are just simply lookalikes. Ooh, keeping it all under suspense for you guys. But I basically forgot. This is basically what I mean. But I'm going to try and wrap it up into a story because, hey, why not? It's an extra thing to talk about. So you can see here I cut out most of the first Oberth burn here because we didn't get all that very far, to be honest, with the manoeuvre. And now it's basically a load of faffing around with manoeuvre nodes to plan for the next time we come around to Periaps so that we can get our encounter with Jool once again. You can see here we didn't actually move all that much to begin with, but the higher you raise your apoapsis, the faster you'll be travelling at Periaps still. That's why when you try to raise your apoapsis initially, it starts out really, really slow, and then the growth of your apoapsis becomes faster and faster and faster. The further your apoapsis climbs, the faster it goes, because the faster you're travelling at Periaps because of the Oberth effect, because of the deeper in the gravity well. So you can see here, I think in this next pass we get right onto the edge of Kerbin's gravity well, just out past Minmus. That did cause a few problems with the manoeuvre nodes and everything, which I think I edited out, but I'm not too sure. But that basically meant that the manoeuvre nodes were kind of bugging out a little bit. So you can see here we're now out past the moon, we're burning out past the moon. You can see how the, we get a brief moon encounter there, how the apoapsis is starting to climb a lot faster now because of, obviously, like I tried to explain really badly then, the Oberth effect. We get right onto the edge of Kerbin's gravity well, and we're going to save the next pass to actually escape Kerbin and actually get straight out into interplanetary space. However, as you're about to see, the manoeuvre nodes kind of bug out a little bit, which means I think it's because we were right on the edge of Kerbin's gravity well, it wasn't quite working properly. You can see it all glitching around there and not being able to find like the proper encounter, even though I know it's there. So this time around we're literally just going to escape Kerbin, and we're just going to use the gravity as much as we possibly can to actually get out into Jool orbit, get ourselves out to the level of Jool, Jool's orbit, and then we'll make some tweaks once we're out into interplanetary space. And you can see just how far away from Kerbin we're actually going here. It's very, very far away, and you can see we're starting to fall back towards the planet now, which should mean we gain a lot of velocity on the Oberth effect. So much, in fact, that we end up zipping past the planet. And you may have been able to hear in the audio there me slamming the desk in frustration. Because I really want to get this thing to work, and I was kind of getting annoyed and tired at this point. Thankfully, I don't think I made any mistakes in this actual mission here. You can see I was slowing myself right down and just getting myself aligned along the prograde to make sure that we don't miss this next time round, because that would suck. That would really, really suck. You can see Kerbin in the background. I love these beautification mods so much. Like, aside from the matter of fact that the dark side of Kerbin is so dark, I really love them. They make the game look so much nicer. They really do. And I love the fact that Planet Shine as well is also shining a lovely blue onto this vessel. It's just, it's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. You can see here now as well, we're coming around to Periaps. This is going to be our final burn. We are now into interplanetary space, and now begin a very, very long burn. Did I say began? I meant began. This was mostly edited out. This took the best part of 10 to 15 minutes, this burn. And you can see just how hot the radiators and everything are becoming. I've basically chopped it up into the highlights of the burn to show you the different stages. You can see here we're now coming out towards the orbit of Dres. This is the furthest that anyone had ever gone before in the Kerbal system, out to the orbit of Dres, and you can see we've now surpassed that, and we're going out to the orbit of Jool. You can see both the radiators and the nuclear engines glowing red hot, and you can see here we'd actually burnt out because I was an idiot and forgot to put fuel lines to the external tanks in that transfer stage, because I wanted to just get it up there in a hurry, which was probably a bad thing to do, but at the end of the day all we have to do is transfer the fuel across, so it was not a massive issue. We just got to balance it as much as possible. Balancing fuel is probably the key thing that we have to do in this mission, because keeping it all stable and keeping it evenly distributed between all of the craft is probably the top priority. So you can see here we're slowly climbing towards Jool orbit now. We're almost there. What we're going to do is we won't get an encounter on the first run. We're just using Kerbin's gravity to actually kick ourselves out. Once we leave Kerbin's sphere of influence, though, we will make some small adjustments in order to make sure our encounter actually hits. You can see we're not quite aligned at the moment, but once we leave Kerbin, which is what we're about to do now, we will make some small correction burns to make sure that is the case. But we wave goodbye to Kerbin for what could possibly be the final time in these Kerbal's lives. I really hope not, because I hope this mission is a resounding success. I kind of want this sort of to be a crescendo, a willing send-off for my KSP missions series. The Operation Shamrock Dawn project is really the culmination of what has been the best part of a year and a half's worth of work on KSP missions. I kind of just want it to be the culmination, and so that I can continue this series as more sort of a light-hearted sort of thing. You can see here as well I forgot to disable crossfeed, which means the nuclear engines have been drawing fuel from the orbiters and stuff like that. That's something I fixed off camera. I literally just transferred some fuel into straight into the small tanks, the round 8 fuel tanks. But you can see here we're going to start burning and we're about to get our Jool encounter. It looks like everything is going really, really well, guys. Everything is looking really, really optimistic for this next trip. I am super pumped for arriving at Jool. I've got a few plans for when we get there of how to slow down using minimal fuel minus aero braking, because that is not happening. But until then, guys, I guess we'll have to wait and see to find out. My name is Bradders, and as always, peace out. We're on our way, yes!